Now we will hear about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I heard Prabhupada say today in a conversation with some devotees in Sridhar Mayapur how we should just accept Krishna's own words about himself, that he's the Supreme Lord. And then he said, if we don't accept them, then we are rascals. It was very, very clear, Prabhupada's point of view. So we've been hearing for 3 days last week about a very mysterious subject and a very exciting subject. The subject is when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, which we didn't really speak much about, but more we were focusing on Krishna's entrance into Mathura. And there, when Krishna entered Mathura, although it was like the darkest of nights for the residents of Vrindavan, it was like the dawning of day for the residents of Mathura. From the point of view of that it was every minute brought them, that Krishna's presence was in Vrindavan, it brought them closer to the death of Kamsa, who was such a cruel, man-eating Rakshasa. One of the draws, or the ways that Kamsa called Krishna to Mathura was on the excuse of having a great festival. And what was that festival? What was that festival? Yes, but he didn't tell Krishna that he wanted to kill him. Although Akrura told Krishna directly, he wants to kill you. And you know what Krishna did? Krishna and Balaram did when Akrura told them that Kamsa's plan was to kill them. Do you know what they did? They just laughed. But in any case, the reason that Kamsa called them was because they were going to have a Dhanur Jagya, a great bow festival, a sacrifice. And at the end of the next chapter, Krishna is going to break that bow. And that bow is a very special bow. It is a special bow that was given to Kamsa by who? No, Parsuram. By Parsuram. And there's a wonderful pastime about that, which I will not tell now, but I'll tell when we get closer to that exciting event. So in any case, Krishna had just entered Mathura and he wanted to wander there freely with his cowherd boyfriends. They were village boys. Prabhu, come sit here. They were village boys on one level, and they had never been to the big city before. So it was very exciting for them to see the opulences of Mathura. And then when they entered, the ladies of Mathura greeted them. And they were so eager to see Krishna. Not one of them, practically speaking, our Acharya said, had their bangles and dresses on properly, or their decorations. No one had a steady enough mind to properly dress themselves because they were so excited about seeing this boy, Krishna, who they had heard so much about, and who was so effulgent and so sweet and so beautiful. So they threw from the roofs of the houses, they threw flower petals. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the acharyas, said the flower petals that they flew at Krishna was their glances. They were just looking at Krishna again and again and again. And then, after the ladies saw Krishna, and there was another group of Mathura Vasis who had been waiting to see Krishna. And prior to this time, everyone was terrified to express, to even say the name of Krishna. They were terrified, they were fearful, they were frightened of King Kamsa. He was the ruler, and he was powerful, and he was cruel and heartless, and he feared Krishna. But on the appearance of Krishna there, everyone gave up their fear, and they greeted Krishna with their full hearts. So after the ladies greeted Krishna, then one could say, so that we know that it is not just the sentiment of some Matajis who were attracted to the beauty of Krishna. The learned Brahmins of Mathura also greeted Krishna properly with Vedic articles. They greeted him on the streets of Mathura, and they worshipped him. They worshipped him with Vedic hymns. I'll read what Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book says. When the brothers were passing through the streets, all the brahmanas in the neighborhood went out with sandal water and chandan to decorate the forehead of Krishna, and flowers, and they respectfully welcomed Krishna and Balaram to the city. All the residents of Mathura then began to speak amongst themselves. So the brahmanas, whose qualification was that they were learned in Shastra, they recognized that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had just entered Mathura. And therefore, knowing that the Lord had entered, they were fearless. And then the residents of Mathura began to talk amongst themselves. What about looking at Krishna for the first time and seeing his attractive beauty, his sapphire-like effulgence, his wonderful smile, maduram maduram, vapo asya vibhor, his perfectly formed body, bhushana bhushanangam, his lotus feet, his lotus hands, his smile, which was the sweetest of the sweet, and his glancing out of the corner of his eyes at everyone, and his eyebrows dancing. Seeing Krishna for the first time, they realized that the previous days of their life were wasted. Akshanvantam phalamidam na param vidamaha. That the perfection of the eyes, or even the very use of the eyes, the purpose of the eyes, was to see Krishna, to see this form that was so strikingly attractive. And without seeing Krishna, their eyes were useless. So therefore, the days that they had spent before this day, the day they had saw Krishna, were just wasted. And that led them to think that the most fortunate persons were the residents of Vrindavan. Why? Because every day, the Mathura Vasis thought, every day they had the opportunity to see Krishna. Because living in Vrindavan, gave the residents, it was like, because they lived in the village, the same village together. So that gave them the opportunity to see Krishna every single day. Krishna would go out in the morning with Balaram and the cowherd boys and Gocharan. They would wander around Vrindavan, herding the cows. And every day, just before sunset, they would return. And all the residents of Vrindavan were eagerly waiting for them to return. So every day they saw Krishna, every single day. Such a festival for their eyes. So the residents of Mathura were thinking of their fortune. And interestingly enough, when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, one of the points that the Braja Gopis say, when Krishna is leaving in chapter 39, yes, the gopis, in lamenting that Krishna is leaving, they are thinking of the fortune of the residents of Mathura. Because, they say, the dawn following this night will certainly be auspicious for the women of Mathura, and all their hopes will now be fulfilled. For as the Lord of Braja enters their city, they will be able to drink from his face the nectar of the smile emanating from the corners of his eyes. It's Krishna's eyes that make the smile perfect. Krishna's smile perfect. So as the gopis were thinking of the fortune of the residents of Mathura, specifically the ladies of Mathura, the residents of Mathura were thinking of the fortune of the residents of Vrindavan, specifically the gopis, but really all the residents of Vrindavan. So just see, let us just for a moment think about what they're measuring fortunate and unfortunate as. Because we all we see certain people and we think, oh, they're so lucky, they're so fortunate. But what are our reasons for considering someone fortunate or someone unfortunate? There are many, many reasons. They have something that we want, that we think we need, that we have been dreaming about that would satisfy us. But the residents of Vrindavan and the Mathura Vasis, they only have one standard for what is fortunate and what is not fortunate. To see Krishna, to be in Krishna's presence, to have him glance upon us. They define that as fortune. And anything other than that is misfortune. To not be able to see Krishna is the greatest misfortune. When a devotee thinks that how unfortunate I am, I'm not able to see Krishna. If he sincerely thinks in that way, his Krishna consciousness develops virahavav, in separation from Krishna. And a non-devotee, on the other hand, he can't see Krishna. He can't see Krishna at all. But he doesn't think himself at all unfortunate. In fact, he doesn't care. And that, practically speaking, is the definition of aparad, insulting Krishna. So we can examine our own consciousness to see how much we care or don't care that we see Krishna or don't see Krishna. So then, again, all the residents of Mathura began to talk amongst themselves about the elevated and pious activities of the people of Vrindavan. Why are their activities elevated? Why are their activities pious? Because their consciousness is filled continuously and only with thoughts about Krishna. Again, the same criterion. The residents of Mathura were surprised at the pious activities of the cowherd men in Vrindavan that they must have performed in their previous lives to be able to see Krishna and Balaram daily as cowherd boys. They could not conceive of the actual consciousness of the residents of Vrindavan, either the cowherd men, the cowherd ladies, the gopis, because every day when Krishna would go out to herd the cows, Maharpidam Natavaravapu Kanayo Kanikaram, when Krishna would go out to herd the cows every day, all the minds of all the residents of Vrindavan just simply followed Krishna. They could not think of anything other than Krishna. So therefore, how exalted was their consciousness. When they saw Krishna, they were worried. Oh, what happens if our eyes blink, or if Krishna walks behind a tree, or if Krishna goes running off? When they didn't see Krishna, they were worried, what happens if I can't see Krishna? What happens if... Always longing to be in the association of Krishna. And this, from recent listening to Prabhupada's speaking, I really have heard again and again that this is what he wants us to do. In one way or another, become absorbed in thoughts about Krishna. Somehow or another, while doing service, whether it's sweeping the temple or worshipping the deities, or distributing books, or any service, or managing any service. One is, he wanted us to have in our minds, or to complete the service in understanding to what it really is. This is an offering to Krishna. This is my offering to Krishna. It may not be a great offering, after all, I'm a little person, but here is my offering to you for your pleasure, O Krishna Balaram, here in Krishna Balaram Mandir. Please accept this humble offering to you. So to have one's consciousness absorbed in thoughts of Krishna is perfection. And it's also the perfection of the process of sadhana bhakti, of Vaidhi bhakti, of ragmarg. It is the perfection. It will clean the heart. It will remove all obstacles to advancement in Krishna consciousness from our consciousness. It will award us Krishna. And I heard Prabhupada also say today that it takes, he said, the one thing that we require to have Krishna guide us personally, and I'm changing his wording a little, somewhat, but the one thing that we require, all we require is sincerity. The sincere attempt to be a devotee, or a devotee of a devotee, or a servant of a devotee, or a servant of the servant of a devotee. A sincere desire to somehow please Krishna. And having removed from our heart the essence of insincerity, which places me in the center. A sincere desire to please me, and that everyone know how wonderful I am. That is exactly the opposite of what's required. So when we're confronted with this type of consciousness, plaguing like a disease in our hearts, we have to become humble and take shelter of Krishna and pray to him and chant sincerely. No, I don't want this. I don't want to cultivate this upasakagan. What does upasakagan mean? Labha, puja, pratishtadi, jata, upasakagan. What is upasakagan? No one will say the English meaning? Who said that? Yes, our dictionary. Yes, thank you. Previously, I thought it was a Hindi dictionary, but now I see it also goes Hindi-English. Yes, weeds that and personally, I don't find it easy to do, but when the thoughts that spring from weeds come to our heart, to not give them attention, to not water them with our attention, but rather to place our consciousness on Krishna. That also takes sincerity. So in any case, this is how the residents of Vrindavan were 100% sincere, naturally, spontaneously, completely spontaneously due to their love for Krishna. And the Mathuravasis, with a slightly different mood, they had that sincerity. They were so attracted by Krishna. They thought that how fortunate are the residents of Vrindavan, our life has been wasted. So after describing these very, very sincere residents, devotee residents of Mathura, now Krishna is going to meet a different kind of person. And he's going to treat him and his friends in a different way. And he is very, very famous, this one. Who is the next person that Krishna is going to meet as he walks through Mathura? Who will he meet? A washerman. And we say dobi here. Yes. They don't have dobis in the West. You know, they have washing machines. This person was something like a machine, too, because he was going to lose his soul very quickly. So, now this is an amazing pastime, actually, and it's one that I've thought about for a long time before I could understand. Because what does Krishna do? He walks into the city, and everyone praises him, and then the Brahmins of Mathura worship him, and the ladies greet him and throw flower petals on him, and then he meets this Rajak, or he meets this washerman or dobi. Let me because I want to read these verses. They're very interesting. So Rajak means a washerman. Rajakam kanchid anyantam rangakaram. So rangakaram means that he also dyed clothing. He washed the clothing and dyed the clothing. Gadagraja. Lord Sri Krishna, who is the elder brother of Gada, and according to our acharyas, Balaram had a brother whose name was Gada, and Krishna also had a brother of Vasudeva, Vasudev's son, whose name was Gada. So out of the two, it was Vasudev's wife, I can't remember her name, it was something, it sounded almost like Devaki, but another name, had a son named Gada also. So it is this one, because the brother of Balaram named Gada has not yet been born. So Krishna is called Gadagraja. So Krishna met him. Dristva Yachata Vasamsi, and Krishna saw the garments, the clothing, the dyed and clean clothing that the Rajak had, the Dobi had, And seeing that, the clothing, he made a request from him. Request is ayachata. He requested him, after seeing these first-class clothing, dotani atyutamascha. And this is what he said. Please, dehi avaya samuchatani, please give us too, because he was primarily with Balaram, even though the other cowherd boys were there. Please give us too. And he spoke very, very gently, and he spoke very, very sweetly. But he said something that on one level was outrageous. Please give to us too, my dear. He even spoke he called them anga, which means like a very, very sweet way. Anga is like a part of the body. So you are like my anga. Please, kindly give us too, who deserve these clothes. Arhata means to the two who are deserving. You please give this to us. And he said, Bhavishyati param sreyo. If you give this to us, you will get the paramasreyas, the greatest benefit. And I am telling you this, datus te natra samsaya. I'm telling you this, and you should not doubt it at all. Now, we know what happens. But why did Krishna do this? He, as will be explained later by one of the names that he is called, he possesses everything. He didn't need any clothing at all. And if he wanted to, he could manifest the most wonderful clothing in existence without even going like this. And also the clothing that he was wearing were gifts from Indradev, from Varuna. Why did Krishna do this? Why did he ask him for clothing? So on one side, he wanted to make this unfortunate, wicked soul who was a servant of Kamsa, he wanted to make him fortunate. And indeed, when Krishna wants to make someone fortunate, that person is going to become fortunate. But he made this Rajak fortunate by killing him. But if he would have just been a little more submissive, he would have had a much better way to become fortunate. But why did Krishna do this? This person was actually a demon. He was wicked, and he was a servant of Kamsa. And Krishna had come to Mathura specifically to kill Kamsa. And Krishna was lured into coming. And Kamsa specifically put Devaki and Vasudeva in prison because he knew that would force Krishna to come. Because Krishna would not be able to tolerate Vasudeva and Devaki being imprisoned again. And this person, this washerman, this Rajak, this Dhobi, was a servant of this Rakshasa, Kamsa. And because Kamsa, his master, was evil, he too was evil and was wicked. So Krishna spoke very sweetly to him, Dehi, please give me, oh Anga. So he wanted to show everyone this person's evil nature. So when he spoke to the washerman like this, in some senses, some of our acharyas say he was he was poking him a little bit. Poking him meaning if someone pokes you when you're, and if you're in a bad mood, if someone pokes you, you become angry at them. So I do. Of course, you are all tolerant, more tolerant than trees, and giving respect to all others. So Krishna wanted to bring out his wicked nature for everyone to see. So he asked him for something. Everything. Give us your clothes. And they were the king's clothes too. Actually, he says that they were the king's clothes, but actually they weren't. Srila Sanatana Goswami said he had some new clothes that he was going to sell, but just to show his position as the servant of Kamsa, the king, he said these are the king's clothes, these are Kamsa's clothes. So Krishna said these garments, they are royal garments. They are actually meant for us, because it's a fact that Kamsa had stolen the kingdom from Ugrasena. It was not actually his kingdom. It was the proper kingdom of someone else. And Kamsa was the thief. Kamsa was actually the thief. Of course, we also know Krishna as a thief. But that's more for butter and things like that. But Krishna wanted it back, because our dynasty is supposed to be glorified by these clothes. Because Kamsa had gathered wonderful cloth from different lands. So during this festival, the Dana Yajna and the wrestling match, that everyone could be decorated, all his family members could be decorated and look very, very wonderful and opulent. And Krishna was saying that these are actually ours. So he spoke to him very, very sweetly, though. So, Sayachito Bhagavata, being spoken by the Paripurnena Sarvata, by the one who owns everything, who is absolutely complete. That's Krishna, who had no need for clothing. Sarvata, in all respects. Then immediately, Sapchepta Rishita Praha, he began to speak to him in very insulting, Rishita, angry words. He responded in an angry way. Brityo Rajnas Sudormadaha. Because he was falsely proud of being a servant of the king. And this is what he said. You impudent boys, Eva Vashamsi, this clothes are not meant for you. Nityam Giri Vane Chara. Nityam means Giri, the mountains, Vane Chara. You boys, you're always just wandering in the mountains, Giriraj, and the forests, just wandering. And these are royal clothes. They are not meant for you. So he began to speak in a very angry and insulting way. Paridatta kim udvrita. You're so impudent. What does impudent mean? Impudent? Impudent? Trying to do something that you're not qualified to do. Insisting. Who said that? Gate? Say it loudly. Okay, correct? No one's agreeing. What's going on? Impudent. Something like proud, but going beyond your position. Arrogant. Yeah. You're so arrogant. You are so impudent. Raja Dravyani Abhipashta. You who wander, you forest boys, you village boys, you cowherd boys, you want to wear the king's clothes? You are so arrogant. You are so impudent. I want to hear some good Hindi words to describe these. Arrogant, impudent, proud, garva. Everyone's very silent tonight, all our Hindi speakers. You are asking for the clothes meant for the king? He said it in a very angry way. And then he made a great, great mistake. Yatasu, of course he had already made a mistake. And when one has bad consciousness, everything one does will be a mistake, practically speaking. But then he says, Yatasu balisha maivam. Jata, go. Ashu, quickly. Balisha. What does balish mean? Fool. But it means fools. And Krishna was with Balaram. And he used the plural, balisha. You fools. That means he also called Balaram a fool. And Krishna became very angry. He called Balaram a fool. Dauji. Arya, sometimes Krishna would call him Arja. So our acharyas, when I read this, because I was always thinking this is a little extreme. Okay, he raised his voice to Krishna. Krishna asked him for all his clothes, and he wouldn't do it, and he didn't speak properly. But then Krishna killed him. But hearing that he had insulted Balaram, and Krishna would not tolerate that, then it all made more sense. And also Krishna had poked him to show his wicked nature. So he said, Jatu asu balisha. Go from here immediately, you fools. Because if you have the desire to live, you should not stay here any longer. When someone is too bold, the king's men will arrest him, beat him, steal his property, stab him. So go immediately. I'll tolerate this one time. Now go, Balisha. So Krishna became very angry. As the washerman thus spoke brazenly. Brazenly means he was arrogantly, boldly, not understanding his position. After all, he was just the dhobi, the village dhobi there. But he thought, I am the king's dhobi. This is the way false ego acts, isn't it? We're all so little, but we imagine ourselves so big and important. So as the washerman spoke so brazenly, and then it said, and in Krishna it's called Kupito Devaki Sutta, the son of Devaki, because Srila Sukadev Goswami is reminding us that this person is proud because he's a servant of Kamsa. And Kamsa is the one who at that very moment has Devaki and Vasudeva in prison. And Krishna is thinking of himself at this moment as Devaki Sutta. And therefore, Shira Kayad Apatayat. It described Rajakasya of the washerman, Kara, with Krishna's hand, with the front of his hand, meaning just the fingers. Shira, the head, Kayat, from his body. Apatayat, it fell off. Such a nice way to describe it. Krishna went, and his head just simply fell off of his body. Immediately, because the washerman wasn't alone, and that's another reason he was so proud. He had so many other washermen under his care. And not only did he have so many washermen, he had so many, what else? Donkeys. Kara. No, how do you say donkey? Huh? Gada. I have so many donkeys. So the washerman's assistant, after Krishna did this, they all dropped their bundles of wash and they ran as fast as they could in every direction, scattering in all directions. And then, and the donkeys also ran. And then, Krishna took all the clothes and did with them as he wanted. Okay. Official Krishna Balaram Mandir time, yes? Okay. So Krishna willing, tomorrow we shall continue. There's a little more in this pastime of the washerman, but then the pastime increases in sweetness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Krishna book ki jai. Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Krishna Balaram, Sri Radha Shama Sundar Lalita Vishaka, Sri Gonatai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's house ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premananda Yadai.